into the Site Plan Designer. Different techniques, meaning we could import a survey plan that's provided to us as a PDF, as a JPEG, as a TIFF file, as an AutoCAD file. We could also import a hand sketch. Perhaps we do have a sales rep or maybe a foreman that goes out to the site and sketches out the property. They provide us with a hand-drawn plan that does have the measurements. We could turn that into a digital file by taking a picture of that hand-drawn plan and importing it into the Site Plan Designer. You also have access to utilize the Google Maps, the satellite images that are provided to you by Google Maps. There are some other tools available, some online measuring tools that you may be familiar with and working with. One is called GoILON. GoILON is an online measuring tool that does allow for you to enter in an address similar to Google Maps and provides you with that aerial photograph of the property, of the job site. So let's go ahead and get started with the application of how to import that Google Map into the Site Plan Designer. What you'll first do is we will open up the EARTHSCAPES program. I'm just going to minimize my screen, and you'll locate your EARTHSCAPES 1.0 if you're working with the latest version of the application. And this would be all of my Corel PhotoPaint X4 users as well as Designer X4 users. You'll open up EARTHSCAPES 1.0. You do have access to Corel from the top menu bar, and you'll open up Corel PhotoPaint as well as open up Corel Designer prior to getting started. And with both of these applications opened, it's fine just to have the Corel PhotoPaint platform minimized. So to minimize the PhotoPaint platform down your taskbar, we just click on the minimize button. And the same is true for Designer. Once it's opened, go to the upper right-hand corner, select the minimize button, and just minimize that application. To verify that we do have our PhotoPaint program open as well as our Designer application open, you'll see down in the status bar of your Windows operating system that you'll see PhotoPaint is stored away, just kind of tucked into our status bar area, as well as Designer. To get started with Google Maps, you'll go ahead and open up an internet browser window, and you can simply type in Google Maps to a search engine and press enter. There are other applications to find your aerial photos or your satellite images. I am using Google Maps for this particular example and for today's training webinar, but Bing also offers a similar service that you can get aerial maps of properties or sites. And as I mentioned during our introduction, you can also use other online measuring tools such as GoILON, and that can be utilized to get an aerial photograph of the job site. But with Google Maps opened within your internet browser, the way that we can make use of this is within the search window or the search bar. This is where you'll type in the address for the property. So we'll just begin typing in the address of our job site. And this is the address that I'd like to look for. So you may not even have to type in the entire address. As you can see, as you type in the address, it does populate this listing for you, populates the search. So we're going to click on our Ohio address. It takes a few minutes for this address to load. And when you load your address and you see the map, sometimes you may just have a street map. So just to get yourself familiar and acquainted with the Google Maps service, over on the right-hand corner, we do have a satellite button. Clicking on that satellite button will give us a satellite image rather than the street map view. So this is what we're looking for. We want to see the satellite image because this image is going to bear for us the foundation footprint, as well as any other elements that are provided or that exist on the site, on our project site. So again, the difference between your traditional Google map, just a street map, versus the satellite version, we do have an aerial photo as part of that satellite version. And to gain access, that is available over on the right-hand side of the screen. Now the pinpoint lists where our location is, the address that we looked up. So we know that our pinpoint A is the address that we typed in. However, this is at a zoomed out level. We do need to zoom in before we advance and secure a snapshot of this particular property. So on the left-hand side of Google Maps, you'll see that we do have a zoom out, which is the minus button, and we have a zoom in, which is the plus. And let's just take our scroll bar and we're going to zoom in. And you'll see that it takes a few moments for Google to come back into view. And let's just zoom out all the way to the top. Let's get as tight of a view as we can. For our reference point, Google Maps still has our pinpoint, marking the location, marking our address. So if you ever get lost within Google Maps, perhaps we have used the pan tool where we're panning around our photo. You lose track of that pinpoint for your address. You can always zoom back out to find your pinpoint and then zoom back in again. So we'll zoom back into our location. You do need to have an internet connection to work with the Google Maps function. And this certainly can be something that you can use as a quick lookup if you have a call that comes into your site, into your office, and this is a call that's asking upon your services for your job. You certainly can have someone within the office look up the site for you and just punch it in within Google Maps. Not only will you get the approximate location and relevant neighborhoods that this site is around, but we could also secure the space plan that we can use very quickly in our site plan designer. I'm just going to zoom out to find my pinpoint. Well, there it is. And we'll zoom back in. Once you have a zoomed in level on the property in which that you like to work on, we do need to take a print screen of this particular site. And a print screen function, to take a print screen with your computer, there are some utilities, some tools that you can buy to take print screens. However, this is a function that does exist from your keyboard strokes. And on your keyboard, most likely it's going to be on the top row of your keyboard, you should see a print screen button. It may be abbreviated as PRT SC. So that's your print screen function. It may also be listed out. And let me just show you a quick view of a keyboard. On the top row, we're going to be looking for print screen. Again, this could be abbreviated PRT SC, print screen. Some keyboard functions do have you press a function key, which may be at the bottom lower left-hand corner. Press the function key before you can take a print screen. And this would be associated, if function key has a square around it, then your print screen button also, that verbiage would have a square around it. So you would have to press the function key with the print screen to capture the screen in view. So with our Google Map in view, I will take a print screen of this site. And you'll notice when I take a print screen, nothing really happens. However, what it's doing is actually copying my entire screen that I have in view right now on the computer. So it's not just the map itself, but it is actually the entire browser window. And you'll see here in a moment when we copy this print screen map into Corel Photo Paint, you'll see all of the information that was brought over with it. So let's toggle back down to Corel Photo Paint. And after we performed a print screen function on our computer to capture that Google Map image, we're next going to go to File, New from Clipboard. And you'll see that, yes, I do have my entire browser window, plus I have my Google Map. In order to remove away the additional areas, of course we don't need all of this outside area from our window, we're going to crop the image. And this is why we opened up the Google aerial snapshot or the satellite view into Corel Photo Paint, because we do need to make use of the photo editing tools available within Corel Photo Paint. So once your Google Map is opened, or we paste this Google Map into Corel Photo Paint, we next need to locate our crop tool. So on the left vertical toolbar, you'll locate the crop tool. Click on the crop tool, and when you place your cursor on top of your screen, you'll see that the cursor has changed to reflect that cropping tool. And what we'll do is we'll left click, hold down that left mouse button, and you'll open up a rectangle. As you open up that rectangle, we're going to try to include all of the area that we'd wish to bring in to our site plan designer. So I opened up my crop tool and left click and drag open so we can select the area that we wish to crop and release. You'll notice once you have released your crop tool, you do have the option to size this down. So if we notice that we do have a little bit of the neighbors still in view and still selected, and we wish to get rid of that, we could easily size down our crop area or our selection by using the sizing nodes. And these sizing nodes function the same way as the sizing nodes do when you drag and drop objects onto the Corel Photo Paint platform. So we can resize, we can adjust, we can actually move this cropping area left, right, up and down to really secure and get the area that we need for our site plan. And I'm just going to extend this out perhaps a little bit further. Also take note from Google Maps, and I did not cover this when we were on the Google Maps image, but there is a compass, a navigation that does list for you the directional arrow for this particular site. And that could be a great tool for you to include or at least to replicate when you do have your site plan designer up. Once we have our cropped area selected or in view, to crop to this selection, all I need to do is right-click, and we select Crop to Selection. If this is an undesired result, we can easily use our Undo button. This reverses the last operation. Click on the Crop tool once again, left-click to drag open that crop tool so we can select an area that we'd like to crop. Remember that this is not the final crop selection. We can always adjust and change that crop selection just by grabbing a hold of those selector boxes or moving the crop selection left, right, up, or down. Once we have our selected area in view, right-click and we'll select Crop to Selection. This is what we want to save, and this is what will be imported into the Corel Designer application to be used as our base layer. So let's go up to File on the top menu bar, down to Save As, And you'll save this Google Map image to a location on your computer. And you could choose to save this to My Pictures. This could be your customer file. This could be your general company file. It could be a shared network, a folder on the shared network drive. Most importantly, we need to give this file a name. And I'll just type it as the training Google Map. And the Save As type will save this image as a JPEG file. You can save this image as any standard file format, any standard image file format. So that may be a JPEG. You may also save it as a TIFF or a GIF or a bitmap. Most often, though, save it as a JPEG, and that will be an easy import into the Site Plan Designer. To save your file, we'll choose the file type, and then we'll click on Save. You'll get a confirmation of the original as well as the result, and any compression that needs to happen on the save process. We don't need to worry about this screen in terms of making any changes. All you need to do is click OK. Once your Google Map, after it's been cropped, and you've saved this Google Map to a location on your computer, this is where we go into the Corel Designer platform. So let's go back down to our status bar area, and we'll click on Corel Designer. The first process and the first step of creating any design is choosing your page and choosing the size of that page as well as the scale that we'd like to use. So for those using Corel X4 as well as Corel Designer 12, you'll choose File, New from Template if you do want to create a design on a 24 by 36 paper size. We'll choose New from Template, and I would like to use Architectural Scale, but I want to change my scale to a 1/16. 1/16 inch equals a foot, and we'll click on Open. So you see that I do have a page that's been opened within Corel Designer. The next step is to import that saved Google Map file. So we'll return back to our File menu, click on File, and go down to Import. Once we select Import, we're going to navigate to the location of where you saved that Google Map image. So I saved mine to the desktop. You can save yours to any location on your computer. And I'm just going to look for my training Google Map. So we have our training Google Map. We click on Import. And when you place your cursor over top of your screen, you will see that you have the file name listed, also the dimensions of this file, and it says click and drag to resize. So what we will do is we'll take our cursor up to the upper left-hand corner of our designer page, and I'm going to do exactly what the steps suggest. I'm going to left-click, click and drag. So I'm going to click and drag to resize our imported map onto our page. Once the map does appear on the page, we do need to recalibrate this map to make sure that it is in scale to the scale that we chose for our design. I chose a 1/16 scale. In order to recalibrate your imported Google Map to the scale that you chose, you must have a known distance from your project site. And this could be the length of a wall. So if we knew the length of a wall of the foundation, it could be the width of the driveway, perhaps it's the length of a bed. You need to have at least one dimension that you can recalibrate or size, scale this imported Google Map to match the scale that's on your page. To do so, to recalibrate this plan, all we need to do is we need to determine a point on our imported Google Map that we know the dimension of. And for this particular site, we know the dimension of this driveway is 20 feet. 20 feet for the depth or the width of this driveway. So what I'm going to do is, with our Google Map imported on our site plan, of course you can always move this Google Map up, down, left, and right once you have it imported onto your site plan. And we'll take access to the zoom tool, and that's available on the left vertical toolbar. So we'll click on the zoom tool, and I'm just going to zoom in on the driveway. Using our line tools, and I'm going to make use of the 2-point line, I'll left click and drag to create a line. As we create this line, we must have this line equal to 20 feet. So for us to see this easily, I'm going to change the color. We're going to change the thickness of this line. And I do need to make sure that my units are set to feet. So with this line selected, within the Property Manager window on the right-hand side of the screen, we can manually type in the length of that line. The Property Manager is also where we change the color and the width of the line. As your line is selected, you'll have this very last tab, which is your S-curve or your curve tab. That curve tab, halfway on the middle of this tab window, we have the horizontal distance as well as the vertical distance. And as this line is selected, you'll see that the horizontal distance is 0. It is a vertical line. And the length of this vertical line is listed at 17.7 feet. We know as a fact that this driveway length needs to be 20 feet. So let's increase this red line to 20 feet exactly. Press enter, and you'll see that my driveway is a little bit shy of actually being 20 feet. So we must return back to a full screen. Let's go back to our zoom level box. This is our zoom level box on the top horizontal toolbar, and we'll select to page so we can see the entire page of our design. We will select the imported Google Map, and you'll notice that it has the resizing nodes that appear around this imported Google Map image. We have resizing nodes that would stretch the image to the vertical or stretch the image to the horizontal. Do not use these middle nodes when you're resizing your imported plan. The middle nodes will stretch or skew your imported plan or Google Map image out of proportion. So when you do resize, either to increase the size or decrease the size of your Google Map, you must use your corner resizing nodes. And as illustrated on our driveway, our red line was a little bit longer than the driveway width. So we must increase the size of our imported Google Map file. And this is a little bit of trial and error. You might have to go in and out, zoom in, zoom out 2 or 3 times to match up the length of the driveway to our known 20-foot red line. So let's go back into our zoom tool, and we'll zoom in on the area. And if you do need to, left-click on that line tool, and let's move it slightly. And you'll see I'm still a little bit shy. So let's go back out using our zoom level box. Back out to page. Select that imported Google Map file, and let's just resize a bit larger. Return to the left vertical toolbar, select your zoom tool, and let's zoom back into our site. Use my object pick tool to cancel out of that zoom function, and I can select my line and we can place it on our design. It looks like it's just a hair short, so one last time, let's go back up to our zoom level box, select to page, click on our imported Google Map file, and let's just size it up slightly again. Use our magnifying glass. And with this, we'll see that we have matched the 20-foot line to the width of our driveway. So at this point, what you can do is you can add a new layer to this Google Map image, and you can trace over the foundation lines, you can trace over the driveway lines, create your landscape beds, drag and drop your plant symbols, and create a finished design. In order to add a new layer, I'll just guide you real quick. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have your property manager. You also have your object manager. The object manager does allow for you at the bottom to add a new layer. This is equal to adding a piece of tracing paper. So we can draw over top of our Google Map image. Once that tracing process is complete, you can either delete the training Google Map JPEG that's on the first layer, or we can just turn it off with this eyeball, show or hide button. We can turn that layer on or off. So I hope this training webinar was helpful, insightful for you as you work with your EARTHSCAPES design project, bringing in that Google Map file into the Corel Designer application. We do have some tips available on the forum if you do need to have any written instructions as well as screenshots walking you through the process. Again, that forum page is myearthscapes.com. You can go to myearthscapes.com, click on Tip of the Week, and within the Tip of the Week section, there are some discussions of how to recalibrate an imported survey plan, as well as how to use Google Maps. If you have additional questions about this particular step or function, please contact the Visual Impact Imaging Office, and we are available at 330-259-7661. And we just had one more question of how can we show again how to import into Corel? Great question. We'll just recap that real quick. With your Corel Designer application open, we're going to go to File, New from Template. You'll choose the template that you'd like to use. If I want to change my template, I can click on Browse, and this is for my X4 users, and you can choose a different scale. We have a clean page open. With this clean page in view in the Corel Designer platform, we'll go to File, down to Import, and you're going to navigate to that Google Map image you saved. So if it's in My Pictures, if it's on your desktop, navigate to that file, select that file, click on Import. When you bring your cursor back to your screen, you can left-click and drag to open up the size, open up that Google Map image onto your Designer application, or you can simply press Enter, and it does place a small image of your imported plan onto the page, centers it for you. You can then resize as needed. So there's two different methods there. We can left-click and drag, which is usually what method that I prefer, or you can simply press Enter to have that JPEG image of your Google Map file be placed on your Corel Designer page right in the center. So great question. Thanks for asking. If you do have additional questions, don't hesitate to give our office a call. Let's see. We do have one more question. Okay. So the question is, how did we bring the file from print screen into Corel? Okay, so when we had our Google Map file, in view, and that was using, of course, Google Maps, we have our site in view. We took a print screen, and all that does is it copies. So really what we have to do is paste that copied Google Map image into Corel Photo Paint. So I performed a print screen function to capture this image that's on my screen right now. We then toggle to Corel Photo Paint. With Corel Photo Paint open, and you don't have to have any new page, white page, all we have to do is go to File, New from Clipboard. What the clipboard is doing, it's capturing anything that you copy. So we'll choose New from Clipboard, and it opens up that print screen that we just took from our internet window. So I hope that answers your question. If you do have any additional questions, or as you walk through the process, don't hesitate to give us a call or send an email. Also, check out the tip of the week. We do post those tips just as a heads up when a new tip is available. We do post those on our Facebook page, so join us on Facebook. We'd love to see you. Thanks again, everybody, for joining today's webinar. Have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.